Man, we had a great time, and once again, if nothing else, we'll post it on our Facebook page so you can see it. And let me give you one more note about Adopt a Block. It was, I had an intern that interned for me at Spring Creek in Edmond, and he went and did the discipleship program there at the Dream Center. And so the first day they sent us out to do this Adopt a Block, I called him and said, "Hey," I said, where are they sending us? And he said, "Well, what area are you going to?" I said, "We're going to Nickerson Gardens." He goes, "Nickerson Gardens?" He goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh," he goes, "Man, at least you're not going to Imperial Courts." And that's where we went the next day. So I went to Imperial Courts, and so I called him and said, "They're sending us to Imperial Courts." And he goes, "Oh." He goes, "Well, you didn't go to Ramona Gardens, though." And that's where we went the next day. He said, "What did you do to them?" He said, "What did you do to these people?" I said, "Well, I guess I should have prayed differently." I said, "God, send us to the people who need us." And he said, "Man," so he said, the 4 toughest places to go: Nickerson Gardens, Imperial Courts, Ramona Gardens, and Skid Row. And we did all 4. And it was a blessing, it was an opportunity, and it was, there was a lot of ministry to do. Once again, thank you for sending us. I just want to share with you a few minutes here, kind of a message that I've entitled "Lessons from the Journey." Lessons from the Journey. How many of you know I went on a journey? We went on a journey. We went on a serious journey. Somewhere back in January, when I planned to go to the LA Dream Center, I'm something miscalculated on my GPS. Because later on, when I began to look at it, as we got closer, and I was figuring out, okay, make sure my gas mileage and everything, my budget was right, the trip got longer. So California moved about 300 miles further than I thought it was. So we annexed the state in between January and when we left. And let me tell you something. We went, and Chad will back me up on this, because Chad and I shared the driving. We went from here all the way to Los Angeles. We drove through the Panama, Texas. We drove through New Mexico. We drove through Arizona. We hit Barstow and went down into LA, down this really crazy, as you're coming off the mountain down to the valley. I would not recommend that with a trailer. But we did it. In the midst of, by the way, did you know in California you can't go over 55 if you're pulling a trailer? Who knew that? We didn't until we was about an hour and a half into California. So anyway, so I keep watching the mail, because they do the radar from the sky. So Pastor, we're another week or 2 before we're in the clear. So anyway, we drove all that way. I'm going to tell you something we never saw. I'm not exaggerating. I never saw one piece of roadkill. Not one possum, not one armadillo, not a I don't know, nothing. So either there's nothing alive out there, which is my theory, or there's some really hungry people. Unbelievable. At one point we're driving through Arizona, the heat is just unbelievable. I got the air conditioner cranked, there's nothing but tumbleweeds and a billion snakes. There's got to be, I'm just visualizing them out there. And I told the kids, I said, somewhere right out there between those 2 peaks is a secret back door to hell. This is about as bad as it gets. So anyway, if I have to sell candy bars, we're flying next time. Okay. It's so far. It's so far. So, lessons from the journey. I want to share with you a few things, and then we'll be encouraged, and you guys will get to eat. First one is this. First lesson is this. If everyone is hungry. Everyone is hungry. Just like you are at the end of a message on Sunday morning, you're thinking your roast is burning, or maybe you're thinking, I got to go to the Golden Corral. I'm not thinking of a particular family right now, Haley's. And but you've got your plans. Everyone is hungry. But what I really more important to talk about than physical hunger is this: everybody has a spiritual hunger, whether it's ignited inside of them, or whether it's grown dormant because of the conditions or the decisions of their life. God created us with a spiritual hunger. In Matthew chapter 25, it talks about feeding those that are hungry and clothing those that are naked. And Matthew 25:40, it says, the king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. If we heard it once, we heard it a million times when we were at the Dream Center. They said we always start with the natural and then we move to the supernatural. They always started by meeting the need, whether it was clothing, whether it was medical, whether it was backpacks, whether it was housing, whether it was just a simple offer of a bottle of water or a bag of chips or whatever. Maybe it was amazing. I was amazed how we could go on Skid Row in the midst of this chaos with a bag of chips. I don't remember a big bag of chips, a little bag of chips. By the way, the hot chips were really popular, by the way. You need more hot chips? But a bag of chips could open a conversation. They would sit there and they'd eat their chips and they would talk to us and they would open up about their life. Many of them would tell us, we'd say, so where do you live? And they would show us, right where they lived. Or they would tell us how long they had been on the street, or maybe how they got there, and tell us about how old they were, tell us about their life. And by the end, you'd say, well, is there anything we can pray with you about? It was so amazing how many of them, more of them than not, would say, yes, yes. Many of them would say, please, would you pray with me? Absolutely. And they would give you multiple needs. But does this really surprise us? I mean, Jesus, we see in the Bible, fed the 5,000, and then after them being fed, they could hear the message, they could hear the gospel. He went from the natural to the supernatural. Think about it. He looked at the man, pastor, and he said, get up and walk. And we think about it as get up and walk physically, but I think there's some spiritual connotation there. He said, get up, I want to help you up, and then I'm going to help you to walk in God's purpose for your life. He said, get up and walk. And so we handed out all kinds of food. We handed out chips, as we've already talked about. We handed out hot dogs. We handed out turkey sandwiches, which we made. So if your kids say they can't make a turkey sandwich, they're lying. All right? All right? We handed out turkey sandwiches. We handed out little gummies. And they were the Ohio State. Yeah, they're Ohio State. And Mission Arlington, we handed out little University of Texas gummies. So I always turn the bag over and hand it to them. So, there's some gummies. Yeah. We handed out gummies, and we handed out a bottle of water, that was really popular. You got your water, you got your water, and we handed out, it was kind of weird, but everybody was excited about it, little cans of pineapple juice. You're like, pineapple juice? Yes. And so we handed out all kinds of stuff. In the midst of that, as kids have already talked about, we went to this park and we were handing out chips. And I met a guy named, we were out in this one park. It wasn't even the park they were talking about. We were in this one park. And what was interesting about the parks was they had these signs. And they would say stuff like, you cannot, no scooters, no bikes, those are everywhere, okay? No whatever. And then down here it says, no camping, must leave park by 7 or 8. So by sunset, you have to be out of the park. Well, let me tell you something. Not only are they in the park at dark, they are camped at night. They have been there. They have tarps that are nailed to trees. Like, they have homesteaded in this park. So it was always amusing to me because I thought, this sign may be the most useless sign in all of California. Because nobody is doing what this sign says. Nobody. And so we're walking around in this park and we have these turkey sandwiches and we have chips and we have things like that. And I hear this voice. I first hear this voice. And then I saw this dirty hand reach out of this tent. And he said, I'd like some food. It was in that moment I met a man named Donald. He's 63 years old. He crawled out of this tent, barely had the energy to even make it. Donald began to tell me a story. He said he lived there with his 18-year-old granddaughter who tries to go find money and panhandle money during the day because he's unable to leave the tent. Lives under a tree in the middle of MacArthur Park in the middle of LA. And Don said, I live with my granddaughter. She lives with me because her mother, my daughter, died of an overdose, drug overdose. So it's just me and her together. she helped take care of me. Donald began to tell me about his life. He said, man, I used to have it all together. He said, I was in the military. He said, I actually have 2 Purple Hearts, 2 Silver Stars, and a Bronze Star. I keep them in a lockbox so nobody will steal them from me. It took all that I just told you in a few seconds. It took me about 10 to 15 minutes to understand. Because Donald has throat and lung cancer. And also has colon cancer. And so he can barely speak. He says, I don't even know if I'll be alive tomorrow, but I am here today. And so I sat with Donald on the ground. We sat, it was filth. We just sat there, and he had his tent underneath this tree with a little tarp to try to create shade, and a little grocery cart that full of everything he owned in life. Other than that, 2 Purple Hearts, 2 Silver Stars, and a Bronze Star. And he somehow had locked away in a lockbox somewhere. And so we, in the midst of all this, yes, he wanted some chips and he wanted a sandwich and he asked if he could have some water. But he said, would you pray for me? Would you pray for me? And so I had the privilege of praying with Donald right there in the middle of MacArthur Park. That Jesus would fill his heart with hope, fill his body with healing. We met a lot of people along the way who were hungry. But they weren't just hungry for food. They were hungry for hope. They were hungry for Jesus. When I asked them, could I pray with you? When we asked them, could I pray with you? It was a simple question. We almost always got a yes. Because we live in a world, my friends, who are hungry. They're hungry. Some of them don't even know what it is that will satisfy that hunger. And it's our job to provide it. Can I encourage you with this point number 1? Would you just simply end with your conversations with, hey, I know we're about, is there anything I pray with you about? I thought this is just work in L.A. and Noel MacArthur Park. This works in real life. You know, as you're heading out, the co-worker shares with you an issue or just says, hey man, I'll see you, I'll see you Monday, it's the weekend. We could say, can I pray with you? You know what I mean? Number 2 is this, is that everyone is similar. Everyone is similar. So we went to a park in the middle of Skid Row. This is the park that they were talking about. We were there to hand out chips and start conversation. It worked pretty well. We were there to pray with people. Just create some hope. And it is there that I ran into a man named Gary. Would you put Gary up for me? I don't have a lot of pictures of Skid Row. Because he told us not to take pictures. But I asked Gary, I said, Gary, would you be willing to let me take a selfie with you? I thought maybe that was less intimidating, Hey, I want to take a picture of you. Can we take a picture together? I said, I'd like to put you on my wall so I can pray for you. He said, oh, that'd be awesome. Gary's 66 years old. That means he's only about 2-3 years younger than my dad. And Gary, as of this picture, had just been out of the hospital 1 week. He said he's on the streets, he's homeless, and he said he was at the bus stop about 3 weeks ago when he had a massive stroke, he had a brain bleed, an aneurysm. He said the last thing he remembered was going head over feet over head, over the top of that bus stop. Thankfully they got to me, they took me to the hospital, and he said, but I still can't remember everything just quite well. When I caught Gary, he was actually outside the fence. So there's the fence, and I'm cheating. We're supposed to stay in the park. Of course, Pastor Phil, I have to bend the rules. And so I went outside the fence. He's sitting on a little stool that he carries around because he says his knees aren't as good as they used to be. And right behind us, you can't see it, but we're facing it, was another organization had brought in a shower truck. And he was waiting for his turn to take a shower. He said, it's amazing what a shower can do for a man. So he was sitting there and we were talking, and so I introduced him to Elliot and Braylon, and his face lit up when I explained to them that they were my sons. And so he began to tell me about his son. He began to tell me about, and you could tell as a father, he beamed talking about his son, how successful his son had been, and how he had really destroyed that relationship through some drug use and some things, but how he still owed so much, loved his son. We talked for quite a while before we finally left. But before he left, he took a moment to talk directly to Elliot and Braylon. Here's a couple of things he said. He said, boys, make wise choices. Every one of them counts. He said, listen to your father. I said, yeah, tell him that again. Listen to your father. And he said, family is important. And then he said, don't forget to pray for me. It was in that moment that I thought to myself, oh, have you ever heard this phrase? Oh, but for the grace of God, there go I. You see, in the scripture, it says, Romans 3:10 says, you put that up, as it's written, there is no one righteous, not even one, that none of us earned, but by grace, where we're at this very moment. And so if it wasn't for the grace of God, for the providential grace and mercy of the Heavenly Father, I could be sitting on a stool, waiting for a shower in a shower truck, and Gary could be giving me chips and praying for me. I'm not better than Gary. Gary and I are the same. We're just fathers who love our sons. We're just sinful creations made by God with an opportunity to be given grace and mercy if we'll accept it. We're all similar, just lost souls saved by grace. So I ask you with this thought is, I ask you that next time you see somebody who looks different, I pray that God would give you the eyes and the vision to see you're not really that different. I'll tell you, it kind of changed my perspective for the rest of the week. I thought, man, every person I saw, I thought, man, just me, I could be there too. I don't even have this in my message, but my heart broke so many times this week. We prayed for a lady on Skid Row, and for whatever reason, as I looked at her, her hair was unkempt, and she had tried to put on a little bit of makeup, but it was not good, and she looked very tired and weathered and dirty, and her clothes, they had once been nice. They were nice clothes, but they had long since been cleaned, and she was sitting there. And we asked if we could pray for her. We all knelt down. There was about 4 or 5 of us. And we knelt down and prayed for her. And in that moment, I instantaneously could see her as she used to be. I saw her with her hair fixed and her makeup. And here was a woman who at one time had hope. But in this moment, as we prayed for her, I don't want to be, I'm not trying to over-sensationalize, but this is just what happened. As we were praying for her, I could feel her broken spirit. I was like, God, would you allow the hope and the energy and the Spirit of God inside of me to fill her, because she had long since given up. I'm going to be honest with you, she was so broken, my friends, that as we prayed for her, she sobbed so hard. She sobbed so hard. And you always pray with your eyes open, by the way, on Skid Row. So as I'm praying with my eyes open, and I'm leaned over and I'm praying, and she's right here. She has lost all control of her body. And she literally, in that moment, she just wets the ground. She just goes to the bathroom. Right there. And I'm not trying to be gross. What I'm trying to tell you is that she's so in that moment, I felt like the Lord said, she's so embarrassed of her condition. She's so embarrassed of who she used to be somebody. I don't know her story. I didn't have time. We didn't get time to talk to her. But I felt like the Lord told me she used to be somebody, and she's fallen so far. I know she'd gotten into, it was obvious she did drugs, and you could see the marks on her arms or whatever. And I said, God, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? And he said, just pray with her. You love her. And And next week, there's going to be another group that's going to come by. And next week, another group's going to come by. And I'm believing for that lady. I'm believing that the Lord's going to touch her. But can I tell you something? She's just like us. Oh, but for the grace of God, everyone is similar. I know it's noon, but give me just a couple more minutes. Number 3, everyone has something to give. Matthew 10:8 says this. Matthew 10:8 says, heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. How many of you would say you have received from the Lord? Amen. Everybody's hands should be up if you're standing here. You're not on the street. You've received from the Lord. I met another young man. His name was Kevin. Did you put Kevin up? Kevin's my bud. Walked in that park and our eyes met, and he just kind of gave me the head nod. I was trying to be cool, you know. I got chips, you know, and he said, you got hot chips? I said, yes, I do. He goes. So we come over and we begin to talk, and he's telling me about his life, and he asked him where he slept. He said, wherever he could find. He said, wherever I can find. And we ate some chips, and we shot some baskets. There was a basketball court there in the park, and so you use what you got, right? So he had a basketball, which kept falling in the puddle. I don't even talk about that. But anyway, he was a germaphobe too. It was really funny because he hit this really big puddle, and he goes, we're going to roll that out. But they said, we're going to roll that out for a minute, and then we'll shoot again, right? So we're going to let that dry out. So, oh man, you ought to see how big the hand sanitizer in the van was. We had the pump style. Everybody get in. I'm like, you're getting some hand sanitizer. Okay. So we ate chips, we shot baskets, and we talked about the NBA. Talked about basketball, and we talked about life on the street. But you know what his biggest concern was? It wasn't about him. His biggest concern, he said, you know what I'm worried the most about? He said, I'm young. He's 29 years old, and and he still had a hope in his eye. He said, man, I'm on the street now, but I've got some things working. I'm going to get off these streets. He said, but you know what my concern is? He said, it's all these older people out here. Most of the people in the park were much older than he was. He said, I don't know how they're going to get off the street. At this point, it's going to be really, really difficult. Physically, financially, whatever. It was interesting, in the midst of his having nothing, all he really wanted to give was to help the older people around him. And not only that, but as we began to talk about eat the chips and play basketball and do all that, I had my back to this one. I was talking to Kevin, and we were just talking back and forth, and his eyes lit up, and I turned around, and there's this little boy named Dylan who had arrived. Dylan came rolling in on his scooter. You guys remember him? Dylan came rolling in on his scooter, and he stuck out like a sore thumb because there wasn't no other kids in this park. Matter of fact, I would say before Dylan rolled in, Kevin was the youngest person in the park. Dylan comes rolling in. He's 8 years old, and he's homeless. 8 years old. Cutest little smile you ever did see. Got the blonde hair going. He's a cute kid. Everybody must have known Dylan because Kevin knew him. And so it also happens that Dylan loves basketball. And so I watched as Kevin set aside his chips, put them down. I watched as he set aside conversation with everybody, and he just began to take care of Dylan. He watched out for him. He encouraged him. He loved him. He kept throwing him the ball. Shoot again. Then Kev would shoot, and then they would dribble around and guard each other, and they just having a good time. And you know what was interesting was, in that moment, how much money or how much lack of money didn't matter. That didn't matter. In that moment, skin color didn't matter. Because Kevin obviously is black, little Dylan white, blonde hair, blue eyes. In that moment, age didn't matter either. The only thing that mattered is that Kev had something to give. And he wanted to make sure that Dylan was taken care of. We watched as another one of the older gentlemen. By the time Kevin had come, we passed out chips. I don't know if anybody had chips left. I didn't have any left. So I watched one of the older gentlemen give his bag of chips to Dylan. I watched that time and time again. The homeless take care of each other. I watched time and time again, one of the ladies said, I live over here because my friend lives next door to me, and that way he can watch and make sure I'm okay. I watched time and time again as they took care of each other's needs and said, you know, we were handing out hot dogs. It was so funny on Skid Row. And they go, hey, they got hot dogs, hurry! You know, because one of the rules is you can only give, there's so many, you don't want to give more, so everybody gets one. So you can't, even if they go, I got 16 kids, you know, or I got 3, you know, they have to come get it. And so it's just a fair way to do it. And so they're like, hurry, they won't give me another one, you know. But as funny as it was, they were taking care of each other. They were taking care of each other. My question to you is, who can we help? Who can you help? Because everyone can help someone. Everybody has something to give. There's somebody in your neighborhood who maybe you just need to you know, spend some time with them. Maybe it's a kid, a young man without a father who needs a fatherly figure. Maybe it's an older lady who needs somebody who just come by and change a light bulb, or you know, help with that knock that the engine keeps making in their car, or maybe the yard's gotten really tall and you just noticed. You know what? You already got your lawnmower out, so you're just going to go ahead and mow hers too. Maybe it's somebody in your church. Maybe you've noticed that they've come, but they're struggling to get here. Or maybe they're struggling in whatever way, and you notice that. Maybe it's somebody in your community. You know, I notice sometimes on the local community page, people post needs, and I just think, man, well, I want to quit talking about them. Last night, Kelly and I took by something called the Lansing device, the little thing we test your blood sugar. Some lady had lost hers and didn't have the money to buy a new one. And I said, well, I messaged her. I said, send me your address. My wife and I'll bring you one. We all have something we can give. And if it starts in the natural, that's okay. Because the natural, I watched all this week, moves to the supernatural so quick. People are hungry. People are hungry. I want to close with one last story. It's really quick. There was a lady named, we were on Skid Row, and what happened on Skid Row is we had leaders in the front, and we had these veterans in the back that lived, and they were like the heavies, you know. They were in the back, they're watching, you know. And anything in between, you could go and give food out and pray with people. They said move, you kept moving, and we kept moving. Well, we were moving around, we had stopped at this corner, and we were waiting for some people to catch up. Because there was quite a few of us, not just our group, there was other groups. And so we were all sitting in this corner, and I noticed this lady. Now listen, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and this lady in the middle of Skid Row. Now you got to remember, there's trash everywhere. This lady's got a little broom, and she got one of those little dustpans, you know, this little handle on it. And she's just cleaning away. And I couldn't get my eyes, so I walked over and I said, hey. I said, what's your name? She said, my name's Elaine. I said, oh, hi, Elaine. I said, my name's Phil. I said, so what are you doing? And she goes, oh, I'm just cleaning up. I said, oh. So do you live around here? She goes, oh, yeah, it's my tent right over there. Can you put the picture of the tents up? This is not her particular tent, but this is what would happen all along the sidewalks. Just be tent. Just want to give you a picture of it today. She said, no, that's my tent right over there. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, why are you cleaning up? And here's what she said. This is what I want to close with. She says, because everyone has a responsibility to the place they live. Everyone has a responsibility to the place they live. She said, this is where I live. She goes, I might live in a tent, this is where I live. And as long as I live here, this street corner is going to be clean. Everyone has a responsibility to the place they live. I want to encourage you today. Thank you for the extra few minutes. Would you pray for Donald, a war veteran, lives in a tent in MacArthur Park in the middle of LA, dying with lung and colon cancer. Would you pray for Gary, who's had a massive stroke, who's afraid for what's going to happen next, he's trying to do his best. Pray for Kevin, 29, who still has the hope of getting off the street, who's reaching out right now in the midst of his lack of having to help others. For Dylan, 8 years old, who lives on the streets. My prayer is this, is that all of you couldn't, I know all of you couldn't go to LA with us, you couldn't see what we saw, but hopefully I painted a picture today of some of what we saw. But the need is here too, not just in LA. There are people all around us who are hungry. There are people all around us who are just like us. Oh, but for the grace of God, there go we. There are people all around us who just need somebody to open their hearts, and maybe even their checkbook, to give to them to help them out. Well, my prayer this morning, God, is that we would use the natural to reach the supernatural. And God, we would meet the need of those things that are around us. Not because we want people to see how good we are, because we're not good, no one's righteous, no, not one. Not so that we can feel better about ourselves or put it on Facebook or whatever it may be. No, God, the reason we want to do it is because we believe that if we'll just meet the natural, that the hunger for the supernatural will come out. And that it'll lead to us being able to pray with people. That it'll lead to us being able to lead people to Jesus. That it'll lead people to be able to know you in a way